Then we got to Puglia and we got to 40-degree days, beginning of July. Couldn't enjoy any of the itinerary that I'd planned other than going to beach clubs, trying to get some shade. You go to dinner in a small town and it was just so hot outside. So admittedly, that may be different for everyone else, but I think now that I don't have children at school, I would prefer to probably travel outside that time frame because I felt ripped off in some ways. I didn't get to tick off everything I wanted to see and do within the Puglia region of Italy.
Welcome to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Paula, and this is Season 2. On Season 1, I talked to expats about their favourite holiday destination. On Season 2, I'll be doing things very differently. I'll be chatting to expats about where they currently live, why they chose that destination, all those secret hidden gems that only locals know, like favourite restaurants, best neighbourhoods, things that tourists don't. Welcome back to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Paula, and today I've got two special guests. I know I say special guests all the time, but these are two really special guests because these are two of my friends from Sydney. Firstly, I have Camille, and Camille and I have known each other from school days. Oh my gosh. And I'm not going to tell you how long I've been out of school, but it's a very long time. And Rosalie, Rosalie, even longer. We went to primary school together. We were like kids, little kids. So yeah, welcome girls. Thank you for coming on the panel.
Hello.
So today we're not going to talk about destination or tips. We're just actually going to have a raw conversation about a topic that's very kind of happening at the moment, and that is the European summer. So, everything at the moment in social media is how hot it is. So we're going to lean into the first question, which is, has the traditional European summer become too hot for sightseeing? So what do you think, girls? Who wants to go first? Camille?
Sure. Right. Well, why not? I mean, look, firstly, let me start by saying I wish I was in Europe in the European summer and I could be telling you this, but sadly I'm not. I'm in a Sydney winter, hence the warm clothes. Yeah, it's interesting the heat wave that we hear that's going on. I mean, personally, my daughter, as I know, Rosalie's son is in Europe at the moment, and they are saying it's been really hot. So she has just done a hike in the Albanian Alps, and she said that was actually quite moderate. I guess they were up and hiking early. But, I guess I'm of the opinion that there's probably no bad time to go to Europe if you want to go to Europe. Personally, I think if I had the choice, if I didn't need to travel within school holidays, I personally would be opting for somewhere that was less hot, but also less peak for people point of view. But I guess like everywhere in the world, we're heating up, aren't we?
Yeah. What do you think, Rosalie?
I'm of the mindset at the moment, after travelling 2 years ago, this time of year, my husband and I have gone, we're not travelling June, July. We're going to have to try a different time of year because it's always been based on school holidays. The reason I say that is I had spent time planning this holiday to Puglia, and when we got there, we had left some islands off Sicily, the Aeolian Islands, where it was mild as 24 degrees. You could enjoy the actual island experience. Then we got to Puglia and we got to 40-degree days, beginning of July. Couldn't enjoy any of the itinerary that I'd planned other than going to beach clubs, trying to get some shade. You go to dinner in a small town and it was just so hot outside. So admittedly, that may be different for everyone else, but I think now that I don't have children at school, I would prefer to probably travel outside that time frame because I felt ripped off in some ways. I didn't get to tick off everything I wanted to see and do within the Puglia region of Italy.
Yeah, because I guess it depends on what part of Europe people are thinking of going to, right? So, last year I was in Sicily and Malta and France, actually, on South France in May, and that was hot. Like, I was so surprised. When I say hot, that's actually depends on what people think it's hot.
Yeah.
It was, when I first got there, it was like 19 degrees, and it doesn't sound hot, but it was hot. It felt really hot. People were swimming in the ocean. By the end of the month, it was hot. Like, it was already 30 degrees. So I hate to think what June, July was going to look like in that part of Europe. But if you're in Albania and you're in the Alps, and hiking, I guess it's cooler up there.
I think, and in my experience, kind of thinking back to when I was in Europe in summer, I feel they're very well prepared for the winter, and their buildings are designed, I guess, to retain heat, which then makes it hard in summer to cool, but I also found there was less shelter. I remember waiting on ports in, I don't know, Greek islands or Dubrovnik in Croatia, and there's just no shelter from the shade. There weren't necessarily trees. There weren't really awnings. This is now, I don't know, 15 years ago on, I just wonder, and it's probably changed since then, if they're not as designed for the heat.
And the people.
For the people, yeah.
Yeah, the amount of people. Like now, after, I guess, COVID, everybody is traveling, and the problem now is not just only the heat, but you're waiting in lines, right, for restaurants and bookings and stuff like that. And so the heat is just awful. I mean, 2 years ago I was in Rome. That was hot. Like, that's hot because like you said, there's no shelter. There is no shelter. Yeah, it becomes, like you said before, Rosalie, it becomes all of a sudden uncomfortable. So you can't actually do the tourist things. You can't walk around, you've got to walk on either side or you go either side of the day and you can't do your activity. It's awful. I personally think it's awful. I prefer May and I prefer September because I was in Italy in September last year and it was cool, actually. It was still at night, it was cool, but during the day you had like T-shirts and stuff on, which to me is perfect, right?
And it must be hard.
That's the ideal.
Rosalie, have a plan in mind, and I guess this happens for a lot of people, where it's walking tours or cooking classes or whatever, but it just becomes too hot to be able to enjoy the activities you planned. Like that must feel like a double rip-off. Not only is it hot, but you spend all this time and energy and sometimes money in researching and planning things that then you just can't enjoy to the full capacity.
Exactly. I'm still having a laugh. We were in a really cute little restaurant just in a small town in Puglia, and to try and cool people down, they had the fans going and then water spraying. But even that, it was just doing nothing. It was that hot.
Yeah.
And then
also, sorry, go.
You don't get to enjoy the food experience and the people watching and stuff because you really just go, I want to go back to my hotel room.
Yeah,
sit in the air conditioning.
Because that was a question I was going to ask you. In your hotel room, did you have air conditioning?
I suppose. It's like London. I know the day my son arrived in London, it was close to 36 degrees. And, having lived there. Yeah, it's hot. That's hot.
It's hot.
There's nowhere to go.
As well. And she said it was so hot, it got up to 40. And they've got a 2-week-old. And, with the baby monitor, you can see the temperature in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Like 30 degrees, and there's no, they had fans, and again with the water and the fan, but their house is lovely and cozy in winter, but it's just not designed for the heat.
Yeah, I think that's especially if you go to old, not Roman, but old ancient towns and you stay in those old traditional homes, there is no air conditioning and there's no ventilation. It's awful. It really is. I remember one year we were in Venice. And the aircon, I thought we'd stay at like a pensione, right? So I thought we'd stay in the top rooftop kind of accommodation because we're gonna have the views and whatever. But it was so old, it was beautiful, but it was so old that you could only use the aircon in one room or the other, not at the same time. So we'd have it on, and the kids in the middle of the night would call out, "Can we have some aircon tonight now?" Because you could only have one. But it would be like an hour later, and it would be switching it back off because it was so hot. So hot. I can't even explain. It was so hot and uncomfortable. So I guess then I'm going to ask, should travellers rethink where they go rather than the time of the time of year that they go? Because I know that you said, Rosalie, before that you can only go on school holidays, and a lot of people can only go on school holidays. Then should they be rethinking where in Europe they're going or where in general that they're going?
Possibly. I think it's what your level of tolerance to heat, possibly humidity, and what you want out of your holiday. Okay. As I said, I think for me, I would prefer to go either the other end of the school holidays, so Easter time or that September time now, where it's a little bit cooler. I don't love, being in that heat. So that's one option. Or as people are doing, they're choosing to go like Scandinavia, maybe up into the mountains where you can still maybe use lakes to swim. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's lots of choices, but I think it depends on what you want out of your holiday.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, look, 100%. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. And, I guess if you're wanting a beach holiday and beach clubs and, cocktails by the sea, then perhaps the summer isn't such a bad thing. I guess there's the European beaches have the luxury, if you can afford it, to pay for umbrellas and beach chairs and etc. But I guess if you are wanting to there's so many places to see and do. As you said, Rosalie, head further up to Scandinavia. Even parts of Scotland, Ireland. There's if you wanted to go to Europe. But then there's also other places. You see a lot of people this time of year, if they're not going to Europe, they're heading to Asia. And there are some beautiful places. And, I guess it just depends on your budget and what you're wanting to see. And if you're looking for adventure or you're looking for relaxation. And yeah, I guess for us, probably wherever we travel is going to be quite a distance. So,
Yeah, I do think I get it for the young ones. Like I get it for the younger ones that have just either finished university or school and want a gap year and stuff like that. And they want their first European summer on their own. I get it. But I think now, realistically, I think it's going to be harder and harder to head to Europe during summer, especially if you want to be doing other than sitting by the water. If you want to do real touristy things or beautiful little towns that have no breezes and it's way too hot and too busy. Like, honestly, my concern now is over-tourism, is, going to a place and feeling ripped off because I haven't booked a restaurant, or I've booked a restaurant and I still have to wait an hour kind of thing. So, that kind of, it feels then that, that I not only ripped off, that the holiday isn't what I expected, after all the research and the money that you put into it. I know that after COVID, some of the islands like Mykonos were not expecting the amount of tourists, and they had, I think, don't quote me, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was like something like 10,000 more people over summer than they expected. So there was no restaurants availability, no accommodation, and there were just long lines for everything, and people were angry, That's the other thing. People get cranky.
Yeah. But years ago, the first time we went to Disneyland, and we were told, we didn't have kids then, so it was many years ago. And I think it just happened to be over an Easter long weekend when we were flying through LA. And we got told one of the best bits of advice I remember is that it's going to be busy and you're probably going to have to queue an hour at least for every ride. And just go in there knowing that you're going to get in a queue and you're going to queue for an hour, and you can either choose to let that impact your day, or you can just go, this is the way it is, and you can get on with it. And I guess, if you're choosing to travel in peak time, in school holidays with everyone else, I guess there's an element of, radical acceptance in a way that, it is going to be busy and I'm going to have to queue. I'm going to, whether we like it or not, and it is going to be disappointing, and it's, restaurants, yes, but sometimes you can't even get in to see the museums that you want. Who knew that you had to book in to see, David? Obviously now you know this, but sometimes you don't know these in advance. If you haven't been researching to that level, there was a time you could just rock up and see whatever sites you wanted. Now
Exactly,
some have to be booked in advance. And I guess there's the technology to do that. Back when we were young and traveling, you couldn't book in advance. There was no internet. There was, but now for young people, they have that opportunity. So I guess it comes with pros and cons, doesn't it?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Paula here. I just wanted to take a few seconds to say thank you. Thank you for listening to this show. It really does mean the world. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could leave us a review. It helps people find us, and honestly, it just keeps this podcast going. And if you're feeling extra generous, well, we have a buy me a coffee option. Every little bit helps me making episodes like this one. Yeah. So if you had 2 weeks in Europe and wanted both beaches and beautiful cities, where would you choose, and what months would you choose? Would it be June, July? Would it be September, May, or would it be winter, Rosalie?
I think if we do another beach holiday to Europe, I probably will be looking around September, late September, early October. So I've got a few places I'd like to head to at some stage, and they're typically still warmer towards southern Italy and some of the islands. But we've had some great winter holidays. In terms of winter, like winter in the cities, you can explore. I know it's cold, but there's that, I suppose, that romance of, rugging up and feeling like you are part of the European city you're in. And yeah, I'm open to either. Wintertime, I'm fine with. I think just with the heat, definitely September to late October, early October.
Do you have a destination, or do you have some destinations that have been your favourite?
Where I would like to go is Lampedusa.
Me too. Me too.
Off the coast of Sicily, and I do want to go to, if I can say it right, Favignano, which is part of the island of Trapani, if I say that right, in Sicily.
Yeah.
I do want to go to Albania, so I'd like to speak to Maddie. Where else? We never got to Montenegro when we did Croatia in 2017, because they say that from Dubrovnik it's quite easy to get to. And you know what? I think I just want to go back to Calabria. There's parts of Calabria that I really enjoy, having, family that were born there. So I'd like to do that at this stage.
Well, I'll be going there in September. I told you, right?
I know. I'm excited for you.
I'm looking forward to it. So what has been your favourite, though? Like, if you could pick a destination for summer, or at least for beaches and cities, what would be your favourite destination?
It's been Sardinia.
Okay, interesting.
We've been twice. When we were living in London back in 2001, we went, and it was pretty untouched. Ryanair had just released flights into Alghero, and then we went back in 2014. The kids were little, and we just really enjoyed the island, the different types of beaches, and I found it quite different up north to down south. So yeah, Sardinia is probably my favourite.
Well, I have to pick your brain because I'm going there in September as well, and I haven't planned anything. So that's probably going to be super busy, and I've probably missed out on a whole heap of stuff. First of all, tell me where you'd like to go, and then tell me where's your favourite destination? Because both of you have lived in London before, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess I probably concur with Rosalie in that about the winter traveling. We're not a massive ski family, so winter has not really appealed in Europe. But I did just end up there in January this year, as you both know. And I was really worried about the cold, but it was surprisingly beautiful. I mean, obviously not surprisingly beautiful. We knew it was beautiful, but it was surprisingly comfortable. And, as we talked about, everywhere inside is heated. I think I wore less clothes, like layers there, because once you went inside, as long as you had a coat and all of that, as you guys know, like the walking, we just, you could just walk everywhere. You'd be doing 20,000 plus steps a day, just seeing cities and walking them. And so I guess we were lucky, I guess, with the weather. It was mild and not too wet. So actually I'm definitely, it made me reconsider about traveling in winter. I never would have considered Europe as a winter travel destination unless we were skiing. So that totally changed my mind on that. I too think if I was going to do a beach or a summer Europe trip, I would certainly, now with not having school-age kids, opt for a September, thinking the water would still be warmer than, say, May, where it's not that warm yet, and I'm a bit of a chicken with cold water, and outside of peak time for all of the reasons that we had discussed before.
Do you have a place that you would suggest for summer?
I don't know. I guess there's just so many places to see and do. I mean, gosh, I look at our young people now, and they're going to places that was never on our radar when we were travelling at that age, and it all looks amazing. So, I mean, I just think there's so many beautiful places to see and do. And I think for me, the next place that I go to, and I'm not sure where that will be yet, I love that mix, as you were talking about, Rosalie, of culture and immersion in a culture and the people and community, as well as the sites and the beaches. So, there's so many options. I just really don't know that I could pinpoint one. My list is many.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going to tap on to what Rosalie said. I really want to go to Albania. That's been on my bucket list at the moment.
Amazing. Maddie,
doesn't it?
Of the Alps that they're climbing, and it looks stunning. But even in the city that they were in before that, and they're doing the trip that you were suggested, Rosalie, they're going from Albania to Montenegro into Dubrovnik. So
lovely.
And all via bus and ferries, and there's no flights involved in that. And they ferried over from Corfu, I think, to Albania.
Nice to
it looks amazing. The colour of the water is just stunning. They went to this river, the Shala River. The colour looks amazing, but it's fresh water, and it's from the glaciers, so it's like 2 degrees, even in summer.
Sounds beautiful.
yeah, they said it was a real highlight.
I think if I was to do it, I would do May, September. I was there late September last year. It started to get a little bit cooler. Early October. I'm too much of a chicken to get in the water in October. But I did in May. Like I actually did in May, and I'm a chicken too. So I guess it depends on what part of Europe. Going down to Sicily, it's much warmer.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. But if I had to choose in winter, I'm with you. I loved winter. I was in, I think I told you, but I was in Poland in winter this year, and I was scared. When I say scared, I was really scared because I hate cold weather. But I had thermals on and stuff, and in fact, it's such a beautiful town or city that it made it even prettier because it was snowing. So, I loved it, and I think I'm going to head to Europe more often and when it's cooler, just because there's not many not big crowds, and you still get to see the sights. We did lots of museums. So I would definitely put Poland on my list of places to go during winter. I mean, in summer, I think I really want to go to Albania. But there's also, if I had to pick one, well, yeah, we'll all go together. But I think if I had to choose somewhere, I would say Malta. I think Malta to me was such a surprise at how beautiful that country is. It's so small, but it's not as small as Singapore. So there's a lot to do, and it's just beautiful. Like just beautiful. I don't know why the Maltese come to Australia to live because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, I'd love to go there also.
Yeah, and everyone speaks English, which is a little bit sad because apparently I was told by a friend who lives there that the Maltese, if you go to a private school, you don't learn the language. You don't learn Maltese anymore. You're only learning English. So the language is dying. So not that many of the newer younger generation really speak Maltese, which is a bit sad to lose their language, and it's part of their culture.
100%. Yeah. And I would have thought in most or all European areas, they're studying more than just one language. So you would think they'd be doing two languages.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. That's, I think because everything, maybe they do know a little bit of Maltese, but not fluently, not like you would if it was your mother tongue, if that makes sense, which is really sad. I actually think that's really sad. But I do know that the university there has more international students than anywhere else in Europe because the English program that they supply, or the program that they have there, is so much more affordable than everywhere else. So that's why a lot of people go there to speak English, which is very interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm full of a lot of useless.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, I'm full of a lot of useless general information that won't get me anywhere in life. But anyway,
take you to a trivia night.
Yeah, I have to do a trivia night. As long as it's all useless general information, I'll be there. Nothing too intellectual for me. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add, girls, before we go? No? Okay. No. That's been a lot of fun, actually. That's been insightful and fun. And I'm going to have to get you girls back on again, and we'll do another panel because I know both of you have traveled extensively. So I'd love to, pick your brain on some subjects. So thank you for coming on to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. And thank you for listening. That's signing off now from the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. And I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you for joining me on the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. If you liked this episode and you found it valuable, then why don't you go ahead and like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode moving forward. I've got some amazing guests and some fantastic destinations coming up. But if this is the episode and this is the destination that you really want to go to, then I suggest you head over to trulyexpattravel.com, where you'll find travel guides and deep dive into this sort of destination. If that's not what you want and you can't find an episode that is a destination you want to travel to, then head over and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because I'm pretty sure you'll find something there. In the meantime, safe travels, and I'll see you next week.